Thank you, Chairman. I want to thank all of you for your distinguished records of service to the country. And General Flynn, I wanted to really have all of you comment on something. Your comments where you said, I've also served many years in combat and have suffered from the lack of many capabilities we needed to fight our enemies and found myself fighting the Pentagon as much more than our enemies. Well, one thing that I've noticed in my first term in the Senate here is that when we get feedback from the ground, when we get feedback from the soldiers, the airmen, the sailors, and they tell us about something, it becomes almost retributive in terms of when they're telling us something and what happens to them to give us the honest opinion of what they need from the ground and what they think. And I feel like I have a responsibility to get that opinion, not just to hear from the service chief, but to hear from the people who are really affected. And yet the experience that I've seen around here is that, listen, you got to do it secretly, you got to do it quietly, and if they find you out, they'll root you out. So how do we change that culture? And you know, there's a law that says if a member of Congress, you have legally can talk to a member of Congress about your opinion. And so how do we change that cultural problem that seems to be, in my view, something that I've been shocked by?
Well, I could spend all day, and I'll try to be very, very brief. I once wrote and sent in an urgent needs statement because we were actually using the equipment. So it was an off-the-shelf buy that we did, okay? And we're using it, and it's working. Our operational, the guys going and doing raids in houses, we're using it. And we pieced it together. And we said, okay, this is something that we want to go to our larger joint task force. And so I wrote it, sent it up through the channels. I did all my back channel stuff to all my buddies because, you know, we were trying to move at a different speed. And when it made it through the system, it got into the Army in this case, but not always the Army is the bad guy. And folks in the Army staff said, that's not what they need. He doesn't need that. Who does he think he is? Now, at the time, I was a colonel. And so I've always, you know, these senior guys come out and they say, hey, Flynn, if you ever need anything, call me. So I called up the boss, called up in this case, the Deputy Secretary of Defense. And I was calling from combat. So they took the call. And good enough, the DepSecDef said, let me look into it. And we were able to get the capability. Now, it's about as bold as you can get. It's about that's going over, because you know what? I was, in this case, in Iraq. And I was like, okay, what the hell are they going to do? We need this capability. And I'm finding a system that just did not respond. And
what worries me is that you were able to do that. I can assure you that that's happened. And the person who tried to do that in your shoes, instead of getting what they need, got punished in some way. That's what worries me. And am I wrong about this? Because
no, I think you're right. I see it right now. I actually see it happening right now because I have a lot of friends that are still serving, and they're, you know, especially in the intelligence community where they feel so, you know, it's like, and it's not just about this assessment stuff. It's actually about other things that are going on, and it's like they feel, you know, encumbered, limited, constrained to say something, because particularly with systems, there's some equipment out there that's just flat not working. We're getting ready to send some more forces to combat here. The Secretary of Defense was in here the other day talking to you about it. Right. And I know down at the troop level, because I see it, they're asking for a particular piece of equipment, and their headquarters are saying, don't ask for that piece of equipment. And in fact, in one case, one headquarters has said, I don't want to see any more urgent needs come through this headquarters. Now, for a commander to say that, I mean, it's just, I guess I'm not surprised, Senator, but I'm
What can
irritated.
we do to empower that? To empower that people can speak freely?
Well,
what more can we do?
Yeah.
I think it's first and foremost a leadership problem, and I think service chiefs owe it to put out guidance to their forces that this is our system. This is what happens. You're going to be in the course of your career, you're going to talk to members of Congress, you're going to talk to staff, and the only thing we would ask is that what you tell them, you've told us. I mean,
Right.
so that everybody's on the same sheet of music. You don't, on the one hand, keep your mouth shut, while you're talking to your commander, and then unload on your commander, behind closed doors. So, I think that we can do a lot more in the leadership department to try to educate our men and women in uniform of exactly why this is part of the system. And the other thing is positive leadership means that you don't take retribution out on people for speaking honestly about what they feel. So I think there's a way to do it. I just think it takes more focus, and it takes positive leadership and guidance to make sure that people in the respective service understand that this is the policy.
Yeah, I would.
That still won't stamp it out, but it'll help.
Yeah, I would associate myself 100% with General Jones's remarks. This is a leadership issue. As members of Congress, I encourage you to keep those channels open and exercise your prerogative to talk to anybody you feel you need to talk to mix it up with our men and women in uniform. At the same time, as a service leader, we tell our forces, our civilians, our military personnel, use the chain of command. I would ask if something gets into a congressional channel, I'm asking, why is it not coming to me or the chief at the lead? Why is it not coming up to through the leadership channels? And so it is a leadership issue. We should be encouraging our people to be straight with their chain of command and with anybody who asks from the outside.
So I appreciate all your comments on this, and I think people would be straight with their chain of command if they felt that they weren't going to get punished for doing so. So that's my big concern.
Senator, I think you probably had this experience as well, too, that in units that are well-led, you don't have that problem.
Right.
So it's units that demonstrate that trait, that negative trait, are generally led by people who are somewhat insecure and can't tolerate that just psychologically.
Right, because
But
the
you can
leader will
overcome-
take
you
feedback
can
of all
overcome that.
forms and be able to address it.
You can
Yeah.
overcome that.
Thank you.